Well, it's Friday, the 25th of May, and this is your EV News Daily. Well, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. In fact, wherever you're listening around the world, a very warm welcome from London in the UK. And here is today's news about electric cars and the future of transport. My name is Martin Lee, and I go through every EV article online, so you don't have to. And after mentioning an owners group earlier in the week, hello to another group who tweeted me yesterday, the Oregon Electric Vehicle Association, a non-profit association of EV enthusiasts in Oregon in the USA. Thank you so much for saying love your show, and a warm welcome, Martin, from Oregon. I suppose it is. Isn't your weather either very hot or very cold? Am I getting that massively wrong? If it's warm at the moment, then enjoy the extended range on some of those EVs that you drive that do better in the sunshine. They say, by the way, hashtag Team S, hashtag there is no Z. Yeah, you're calling me out on how I say Tesla. I see. Now that I know that I'm annoying some people, I'm so conscious of it now. So, not Tesla, which I slip into sometimes accidentally, but Tesla. Okay, right, we are Tesla from now on. If I slow down when I say it, it's because I'm concentrating. I'm a little bit slow at the best of times. Well, a couple of quick headlines just to get through them. We won't go into too much in-depth analysis of these stories, but sources say the Model 3 bottleneck of batteries being fitted into the chassis is finally sorted. Follows a recent email from Elon Musk, which came at the end of last week. The rate of 500 per day has now been sustained, and that's going to be increasing. So 3,500 per week in all parts of the factory, by the way. So that is heading towards the increase of 5,000 per week. I know it's a big jump to go from 3.5 to 5, but they're on target. I would say they're on target for that end of Q2, that end of June that he promised would happen. Next, Apple have signed a deal with VW for their driverless car tech, but were they spurned by others like BMW and Mercedes and Tesla? Tesla. Would Apple love to have done a deal with Tesla, but they just weren't interested? I mean, nobody will know, but they've done the deal now with VW for some driverless car tech. Apple, you would say, after making a lot of noise a few years ago, got some catching up to do, unless they've been doing it in secret. Next, the Nissan LEAF was Western Europe's top seller for pure battery electric vehicle action in the first 4 months of this year, with the LEAF selling 11,200 models ahead of the Renault Zoe, just behind on 10,700. Now that's a car which largely, the LEAF that is, a car which largely didn't ship proper numbers until at least, what do you reckon, the start of March? So, wowzers. Looking forward to the May figures, which we'll get in just 10 days' time or so. And here in the UK, the future of the plug-in car grant has been uncertain. That's a bit of an understatement. It was ending at the end of the financial year, so that ended at the end of March, with no guidance on whether it would continue. People have still been buying EVs and still putting in their claim for £4,500 off, please, while the UK government now confirming the plug-in car grant is going to be sticking around until at least October 2018, in some form they say until 2020, but even then, that sounds like a stay of execution, saying October this year. More examples there of how those who set the policy aren't really putting any long-term plans in place. We'll see. October is really just a bit of a sticking plaster, isn't it? And they say in some form they'll be until 2020. At the moment, Category 1 cars, so full BEV, that's £4,500, about $6,000 off the price. Nothing to get mucked about with your taxes, no rebates, purely money off, which the government chip in to pay for your car. £8,000 for an EV van, by the way. Oh, P.S. If you're listening to us in the UK, I know not everybody will get this, but today, happy GDPR Day. Right, let's get on with the news proper then. And we'll start with Porsche. Yesterday we talked about Audi wanting to make a supercar, but going to wait until solid-state batteries probably are fully ready. It's not holding back their sisters and brothers at Porsche, although maybe electrons aren't quite ready for the really hardcore cars they make like the GT2 and GT3. Chris Bruce is the editor of Motor One, and he says that we could get not one but two Porsche 911s. A new rumour indicates that there could be two 911s on the way in the short, soon future lineup, including one at the very top of the range with performance that's going to be on par with the 911 Turbo. Well, that's based on an unnamed source talking to Autocar. He says the standard 911 plug-in hybrid would sit a step above the base Carrera, and the electrification tech would be really similar to the Porsche Cayenne e-hybrid. It's according to this anonymous source. It means a hybrid module with an electric motor tied between the engine and the transmission. Means they work together when you need to for the power boost, or you can do the EV only mode, that kind of stuff. So the Porsche 911 being a plug-in hybrid by the sounds of it. Of course, they have plenty of knowledge of electrifying cars with the Mission E, which is rolling around pretty soon. There's more on the show notes. I'll put a link to that Motor One article, and if you want to join in on the Inside EVs forum on that, there's a discussion going on there. Well, Honda has been criticised for not fully jumping into the EV segment until recently with the introduction of the Clarity lineup and the Accord and Insight hybrids, says Talk Report based on an original article by Electrek. Whilst Honda did introduce a Fit EV 5 or 6 years ago now, it only lasted a couple of years, Honda are reportedly working on a new Fit-based electric car. Well, China's biggest battery builder, CATL, are reportedly tapped up to produce it. The two companies will develop the Fit EV based on their mini vehicle. The goal is to create an affordable electric car priced at slightly more than 2 million yen, that's 18,000 US, equipped with a battery, relatively short miles, 180 range, 186 miles on a single charge. Talk Report say that Honda has yet to make any official announcements about its new Fit-based EV, but has announced it will introduce a new electric car in Europe next year based on the Urban EV concept. Well, Electric Cars Report says there's some ups and downs for the first time in the Nordic sales of electric vehicles. And of course, Nordic sales in Norway, Sweden particularly, have been very healthy for a very long time. For more than a couple of years, sales have just been going through the roof. In January, February and March this year, in Norway, Finland, Sweden and Denmark, there were about 25,000 electric vehicles sold. In comparison, it was about 27,000 the previous quarter. So a bit of a bubble, a wobble, a bit up, bit down. I'm not surprised that insane growth can't keep going. It was over 50% in Norway in 1 month of all cars being sold. EVs. It cannot continue to have those huge double-digit percentage gains. It's going to carry on going up, but I'm not surprised that it went down a little bit. The Nissan LEAF, by the way, the customer favourite if you delve into the Nordic sales, and why not? Because it's a fantastic little car. Well, Tesla's chief designer, according to Teslarati, has delivered a speech at the CA state capitol, and he's pledging support of 5 million EVs to be sold in California by 2030. 5 million zero-emission vehicles on the road in California by 2030. And it's interesting that Tesla's chief designer, Franz von Holzhausen, having a little bit more time in the public eye. Elon Musk has pretty much carried the company in a kind of Steve Jobs way. And although back in the Steve Jobs era of Apple, the other execs would be involved, increasingly, and it was probably due to Steve's ill health in looking back now with what we know, people like Joni Ive were increasingly encouraged to have their share of the limelight, if you want, but also speak on behalf of the company. Oh my goodness, I'm not for any moment saying that Elon is not well or in good health. It's just interesting to see when Franz gets a little bit of microphone time, what he has to say. He said this, sustainable is at the heart of everything that we do. We want to thank you for your support. We want to thank the Governor for his vision on climate change and the clean air policy. And the Governor's goal of 5 million zero-emission vehicles in California by 2030 is not only achievable, but we at Tesla are going to help make that happen day by day. We will build on successful policies and programs, and we'll achieve it sooner than 2030, he says. Full article on Teslarati, by the way. Now, talking about using Tesla how did I say that just then? This is going to drive me slightly round the bend. Tesla batteries. I'm so sorry about this. If you're on Team S, I'll get there, I promise. Tesla's batteries have been green-lighted or green-lit, I suppose, maybe, to end up as a huge storage project. And here we're talking about something happening in Australia. Now, we know that the Tesla batteries are already being used in Australia, but there's a whole new plan being put forward, a new storage project being put forward that's going to power tens of thousands of homes. The energy conference that this was announced at heard from a steelworks boss, and I think he lives in the UK. His name is Sanjeev Gupta. All I know about him is he is a billionaire, and I've seen him on those rich lists and things. And then that's quite popular over here. We like the kind of top 100, top 1,000 rich lists of people living in Britain. So I think he is. He's British based, and he wants a 10 gigawatt solar energy project backed up by Tesla grid scale batteries and pumped hydro as well. He was saying. Earlier in the week, we told you about a 2 gigawatt storage project here in the UK. He's going up in Australia to 10 gigawatts of solar energy backed up by some storage as well. This is really, really taking off. Oh, and finally, by the way, justauto.com doing some analysis on the WLTP new test procedure, I think you would call it. Now, admittedly, this is for Europe and India and South Korea and Japan, and they're going with the worldwide harmonised light vehicle test procedure. In Europe, at least, it updates the outdated NEDC range, which was hopelessly optimistic. And it's interesting, I'll put a link again in the show notes, but it's interesting how this WLTP test is particularly hitting hybrids and plug-in hybrids. And the old tests, by the way, so it's all about CO2 for particularly here in Europe and the UK as well, about car makers hitting CO2 targets. And the old test was really favourable to plug-in hybrids. Under the new WLTP test, it's more real-world range, by the way. So some of those hybrids that had a smaller battery, by the way, that did very well under the old test, isn't doing so well now. That's going to hit, well, firstly, a couple of things. It's going to hit the fleet CO2 number. So there is a target here in Europe for car makers, for all the cars they sell, their entire fleet of sales. They have to start hitting those CO2 targets. And if some of those plug-in hybrids are going to bring it down, by the way, I wouldn't be surprised to see more and more plug-in hybrids being removed from their order list, which would be obviously a massive shame. We want to see more electrified cars on the roads, but in the short term, if it's going to hurt them, it's either going to be those 48-volt mild hybrid systems, which help bring down the CO2, or full electrics, or just pure gas and diesel cars. Some of the hybrids taking a bit of a beating on this new test. Full analysis is being done, but it's definitely some cause for concern. If you had your eye on a hybrid, check the one you want to buy is still going to be on sale before they make some tough decisions to take a car off the market that was otherwise profitable. Well, that's our news for today, and thank you for listening, and please help spread the word about electric cars with at least one person who might want to hear this podcast, because all of the old ones are online. If you want to delve back into the archive, they're on iTunes and Google Play and Spotify and YouTube and TuneIn and Stitcher and SoundCloud and the blog at evnewsdaily.com. If you can rate and review on the platform that you prefer, that would be amazing. If you could. And say hi on Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn on the socials. Any more EV groups out there that want a mention, just drop me a line and we will on the podcast. We're EV News Daily on all of those socials. Have a wonderful day, and I will catch you for the weekend edition tomorrow.